Good morning. Today we're going to be firing a miniature model of a 38 2-pounder naval gun, and we're also going to try to hit our 45-yard target. So, over to the cannon. Alright, so this is our miniature 32-pounder gun. The barrel is 9 inches. With carriage, it's 11.5. It's calibrated in 50 cal or .49 diameter ball. It takes 20 grains of 1F powder or cannon powder, and its ignition is a fuse. So, let's check if it's loaded. It is not. So let's load it. .20 grains, 1F or cannon powder. .49 or 50 caliber ball. And a fuse. Let's cover that up. We don't want all that accidentally going off. Alright, let's load it up a couple more times. A 32-pounder gun were a set of heavy caliber pieces of artillery mounted on warships in the 18th and early 19th century during the Age of Sail. These 32-pounder guns were usually the most powerful armament on a warship. I have two numbers for these guns. I assume that's because there's a 32-pounder gun and a 32-pounder long gun or 32-pounder chase gun. One gun had 9 to 14 on a crew to operate, a length of 5'4" to 9'6", weighed 2,799 pounds to 7,054 pounds. The bore is 6.3 to 6.41 inches smooth bore, firing a 32-pound shot with an 8-pound powder charge at an effective range of 500 yards. Alright, so thanks to more research that I've done on the D Company 2nd Division U.S. Sharpshooters YouTube channel, found out there's two forms of test. The first one is 100 yards without a scope, standing. The second one is, the scope is optional, but at 200 yards. And there were 3 ways of measuring if you passed. Kind of. This is where it gets confusing. The first one is the all 10 shots cannot be 5 inches from bullseye. The second one is all 10 shots cannot be 5 inches from the first shot. And the third one is all 10 shots cannot measure more than 50 inches of string apart. And all 10 shots must be taken from the standing, kneeling, or prone position once you hit that 200 mark. So once you're at 100, you have to stand, but once you go to 200, you have to either kneel, go prone, or stand. So, my target is 75 yards away. You can see it between the trees. So let's run through the safeties. Alright. 1. Always assume the weapon is loaded. 2. Check and confirm the weapon is not. I have no percussion cap on. I have no charge down the barrel. Three, keep the weapon pointed in a safe direction at all times. 4, identify your target and know its surroundings. So that white plate, 75 yards, behind that is trees and dirt mounds, and then a hill, because it goes like this, kind of drops and swoops back up. So I'm not going to hit anything should I miss. Then 5, keep your finger off the trigger until you're ready to discharge the weapon. So, with safety out of the way, let's try to hit that 75 mark. Alright, so here's my rifle box. Pre-made 70 grain charge. Down the barrel. And that's 70 grains 2F black powder or black powder substitute. Do not use smokeless powder. Not sponsored. A cotton 1-inch 0.015 thick wad. .49 or 50 caliber ball. Ball starter. It's still pointing in a safe direction. It's not at me. Ramrod. Number 11, percussion cap. Well, this isn't going to work because of the snow. You can't see it, but I can. There's water in my nipple, meaning this gun may not fire. So let me check my powder real quick. I'll bring you back. Okay, so it doesn't look like any water got into my powder. So let's see if it fires. So, think I'm lined up. Half cock, second trigger, full cock. Nope. In event of a discharge, wait 10 seconds and keep the barrel pointed downrange should it go off. Okay, I also forgot eyewear, ear protection. So it's ready to fire. Let's try it again. Hiram Berdan was an inventor, target shooter, founder, and commanding colonel of the volunteer sharpshooters. Berdan approached the War Department by creating this elite volunteer rifle regiment. The first volunteer regiment met in New Jersey, where Berdan promised them $60 a day and a Sharps breech-loading rifle if they passed the qualification test. Upon passing, they were issued green caps decorated with a black feather, green uniforms with rubber buttons instead of brass, standard union boots with a knee-high leather gaiters, climbing spikes, bayonet, and a Prussian-style backpack. The War Department did not approve of the Sharps rifle. It took a different caliber than the standard infantry rifle, fired faster at 10 rounds a minute compared to the infantry rifle at 3 rounds a minute. The War Department felt if a soldier could fire more rounds they would. The volunteer sharpshooter regiment, being made of volunteers and no combat experience, were not worth $60. The War Department thought less rounds a minute would equal more time aiming, and if standard infantry wasn't worth $60, why would a regiment of volunteers be worth $60? As a sharpshooting regiment of trained marksmen specializing in long-distance shooting, they lost their bayonets. An entire regiment lost a piece of government property in one day and had the cost of the bayonet removed from their pay, and later the cost of the lost bayonets came out of their commander's pay, who made it their responsibility to see that all members of the regiment had their bayonets. There were a few battles where the sharpshooters used their bayonets in the battles of Gettysburg, Auburn, and Blackburn Ford. Truman Head visited President Lincoln explaining his problem with the War Department over pay and the Sharps rifle. Truman gave a demonstration of the Sharps with Lincoln present. Lincoln went to the War Department and got the sharpshooter regiments their Sharps rifle. Truman Head was a volunteer of the 1st Regiment Sharpshooters. The Sharps rifles were delivered to the regiments 9 months later. It was in Antietam where the 2nd Regiment Sharpshooters acted as standard infantry instead of skirmishers. A column of green next to a column of blue, the Confederates, knowing about the sharpshooters, focused most of their fire on the sharpshooters. 2nd Regiment Sharpshooters took heavy losses and acted as infantry only that one time. Later, the sharpshooters' uniforms changed to green caps and blue uniforms for 2 reasons. Blue uniforms were already mass-produced and hid them amongst standard infantry. Last one. One out of 5, 75 yards. I'm going to call that a fail. Okay, so at 50 yards, it was shooting high and to the left. At 75, it is shooting low and to the right. I did not hit there. I only hit there. This was from an early encounter with me and my father. Not encounter. Yeah, when we were shooting, we hit there. Okay. So, I hit it once out of 5. 75 yards. I'm going to call that a fail. So, we'll try this again next week.